Okay, let's go over the XY plot capability. Now, to get started, you're going to need these starting. These files are old parameter study files we've done in the past. We have to configure these files before we can use the modeling web app. So let's go ahead and update these files. So I'm going to open the parameter study web app. I'm going to import these old files. And now what I need to do is update the responses. So let's go ahead and jump there. Let me delete the old responses. And now what I have to do is create new responses. So let's go ahead and import the h5 file. And what I want to do is obtain the data set for grid 1110. So let's go ahead and obtain that. And what I want to track or monitor is the ZM component. So let's go ahead and scroll that. Let's go ahead and select ZM. And then I'll do the same for the velocity and the acceleration. Now, why am I doing this to begin with? Right now, we're tracking the old parameter study files are only tracking 4 responses. But if we want to perform a regression for the entire XY plot, we have to track every point of the XY plot. So that's what we're setting up right now. Actually, I can show you right now. If I download these files, and if I open the new the app configuration file, and let me show these side by side, you can see that we have response R1, but now we have response R1, R2, R3, R4. You notice this with the decimal point. We have R1.1, R1.2. So this is every point of the XY plot. So this is what's new. This is why you have to recreate the responses. And let's go ahead and continue this for the velocity. So we've created R2 for the velocity. Let's go ahead and do this for the acceleration. And then we'll select the ZM component also. So we have R1, R2, and R3. In this case, we're going to track the maximum value for all 3 responses. But internally, it's going to create R1.1, R1.2, R1.3, and so on and so on. So after the responses are configured, let's go ahead and download these files. Let me go ahead and delete the old file. And let's go ahead and extract these files. And then we'll go ahead and start the parameter study. And then right now I'll just go ahead and pause the video. So the analysis is happening right now. We have about 10 samples to go through. So I'll just give it a few moments before it finishes. So the parameter study is finished. All the post-processing pages are opening right now. There is one adjustment we have to make before using the modeling web app. Right now, if we open the app monitor responses CSV file, there's a sample 0 example. So let's go ahead and delete sample 0. We'll go ahead and save this file, and then we'll close it. Now, if I open this in the text editor, you'll see that we only have samples 1 through 10. Again, we do not need sample 0. Let's go ahead and go to the modeling web app. So here, modeling. When you first open the modeling web app, there's going to be training data and testing data already loaded. If you look here, this is our testing data or training data. We can delete this. And then here is our old testing data. Let's go ahead and delete this. Now, to load the training data for the X and the Y arrays, or the matrices, let's go ahead and go to the parameter study files we just created. So let's go ahead and upload the app configuration file. So all of the sample points are uploaded to the section called X training. Let's go ahead and import our training data for the Y. And we'll go ahead and select the CSV file and click import. When you import the file, pay attention to the columns. Every response that's being monitored is going to have a column. So we have column Y1, Y2, Y3, Y1.1, Y1.2, 1.2, and so on to the very last response, which is Y3.180. Now, we are ready to perform the regression. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll click Perform Regression. And this will take a few minutes, so we'll go ahead and pause the video now and wait until this is finished. Now, this is a good opportunity to discuss why we deleted sample 0. Why did we leave this sample out of the training data? This is because sample 0 corresponds to the original property values. So here in this case, it's 0.08. This can potentially be outside of the design space. Here, for example, let's look at this. Here, the design space is between 0.001 and 0.1. So in this case, 0.08 is inside of that, so it would be okay. But if sample 0.000 was maybe this, 0.8, 0.8, this sample is now outside of the design space. So if you were to perform the regression, that point will improperly influence the regression. So this is why sample 0 has to be removed for this example. And in the future, sample 0 will not be included in the final parameter study. Okay, so our regression is complete. Let's go ahead and look at the results. When the regression is complete, sometimes the web app will lock up or freeze. This is because the plots are being created. So these are the results of our regression. These are the results for the first response, R1. If you want to change the response, navigate to the section called GP app output. And then you can change it to any other response you want. So maybe you want to look at Y2. So you would navigate to Y2. And then when you select a different response, all of this data will switch to that response. So in this case, it'd be Y2. So remember, going back to sample 0, sometimes sample 0 might be outside of the design space. So here, if sample 0 was here, and you perform the regression, this could create an incorrect regression model. So what we did is we deleted sample 0. Now let's go back here and discuss how to make a prediction. So after our regression model has been created, we can perform predictions. I am interested in doing the following. I want to make predictions when x is equal to 0.04, 0.06, and 0.08. This is a CSV file I've already created, so we'll go ahead and import the CSV file. And let me actually make sure I select this file, click import. And now make sure that the table has the updated values, 0.04, 0.06, and 0.08. If we scroll down to this section called perform prediction, when you click prediction, it's going to create or perform the predictions, obviously. Now, after the prediction is completed, these new tables that you see here are going to be updated with the values for the prediction. So here you can see the tables have been updated. Now further down are the XY plots. These are the predicted XY plots for those 3 points, 0.04, 0.06, and 0.08. These are the XY plots for response R1, which is the displacement, R2 is for the velocity, and then R3 was for the acceleration at grid 1110. If I want to take a look at the prediction intervals, I can do that too. Let me go ahead and select sample 1 here, and then let me go ahead and plot the prediction intervals. So here you can see the intervals kind of change throughout the design space, or actually the forcing frequencies. Let me go ahead and switch this back to R1. Now let's go ahead and perform how do I say, a validation example. So let's go back here and let's go ahead and make this a user-defined example, or design rather. Let's go ahead and delete all the old samples, and let's go ahead and create 3 new samples. We'll go ahead and say 0.04, 0.06, and 0.08. What we want to do is we want to confirm that the predicted XY plots are close to what Nastran is giving us. So let's go ahead and do that now. And then I'll label this verification, or validation actually. And then we'll go ahead and start this example. And then here I'll just pause the video while this is happening. So the parameter study is complete. Let's go ahead and review the first 1, 2, and 3 samples. And then we'll go ahead and probably want to show this side by side. So let me take this and move it to the left. And what we want to do is compare the prediction on the left to the Nastran value on the right. You know, my computer has frozen a little, so let's see if I can. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to shut this off. My computer just froze, so let's go ahead and redo this again. Right after this happens, I'll pause the video while I recover. Okay, I've just recovered my machine. I've performed the regression. I have new predicted XY plots. Let's go ahead and look at what we have here. So let's look at just one response, or one sample for now. Or let's look at all 3 actually. So when you look at the predicted XY plots and the true XY plots from Nastran here on the right, we're using the HDF5 Explorer, you'll see that the shape doesn't look right. That's because in the HDF5 Explorer, the vertical axis is using the log format. If we instead switch it to the linear format, you'll see that the prediction and the actual Nastran XY plots are more in line with each other. If we look at here at the peak, we get a value of about 7.4 for sample 1. And then if we look at the peak for sample 1 of the predicted XY plot, we have a value of about 7.17, which in my opinion, this is pretty good. Remember that the model, the Gaussian process model, is meant to give you an approximation. It's not meant to give you the exact value. Now let's go ahead and compare this with another example, or another response. We'll go ahead and look at this for response R2. The second response will correspond to the velocity. So like before, let's go ahead and format this so it uses the linear format. And then if we look at the new value, we get a peak of about 1800 for sample 1. And then if we look at the actual Nastran value, we get a value of about 1860, which is still pretty good in my opinion. So you can do this again for the next response, R3, but I think I'll let you to go ahead and do that. that's basically the end of the tutorial. There is one last thing I wanted to demonstrate when you're testing this, and that's uploading CSV data. Here, let me take an example that I've done before. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Let me see if this one has. No, it doesn't. So let me go ahead and find a good example. Now, sometimes when you upload a CSV file, it will not work properly. And the goal right now is to show you how to fix a situation where it doesn't work well. Let's go ahead and open this file here. And notice it won't be this file. Oh, I think it will be this one. Ah, right, it will be this one. Ah, okay, perfect. So this is the file I want to show right now. So if we open up the CSV file, you'll notice that some of the responses have a message saying that we could not track the response. So here, if you look at R1.11, you'll get this message: the response cannot be found in the H5 file. If you try and upload this response, let's go ahead and delete everything here. You'll get a message saying, oh, we have detected errors in this CSV file. To correct this, all you need to do is just delete the columns that have that error. So here it seems to be it's the 11th response for all of these. And let's go ahead and save this. And now, if you go back to the modeling web app and you select the file again, you can now import the data. So this might happen sometimes when you're working with the modeling web app, but I wanted to tell you this so if you do see the situation, you know how to correct the issue. So that's the end of the tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know via email. Thank you.